Welcome to FFFFF, the podcast in which certain kinds of self-awareness are hit upon and mined to total exhaustion, and other kinds of self-awareness are overlooked due to the host's complete ignorance of their existence. But as today is Aphorism Day, I'll merely repeat what a wiser man than me explained many years ago, that the loss which is unknown is no loss at all. As I said, tonight we bask in that subset of ideas known as aphorisms. I have a line of award-winning aphorists spiraling out the studio door, and their pallid, sunken faces make me want to scream. Let's let the first one in. And your name happens to be John Throat. I wanted to thank you, John, for being an aphorist in this dreary century we find ourselves imprisoned in, this cage surrounded by bars as black and hot as they are infinite. It's not easy to write short snaps when so much bears on us from every direction, from our contemptible desperation to find things to complain about in the face of the fact that we have never been hungry or gotten shot, to the night doom we feel when we are afraid our grandparents or prospective employers will listen to episode 4 of our podcast and either renounce us or never return our call, at which point a mental parade of little dancing guidance counselors and other such professionals will sing, "Be careful what you put on the internet. It will be there forever and outlast the babies who shall bounce on the knees of your children's children's children." The year of 2015 needs people like you, Mr. Throat, whose rules of thumbs will ease this alarming dream we all share. Thank you. I'll have to think up something like that for each guest. I shall begin from my 2003 collection Amabitis Sententias Meos. He who neither votes nor engages in other forms of political activity, but does complain about his political system, might either be a brat or a coward. Wait, John, so hold on. What awards have you won? Well, I got the 1959 Guggenheim Fellowship for Poetry. I won the Pushcart Prize a few times in my younger days. The Bellwether Prize, the Caldecott Medal, the O. Henry Award, the 2015 Nobel Prize in Literature, the Harper Prize, the Somerset Maugham Award, the Newman Prize for Chinese Literature, the Hawthornden Prize, and the Plymouth Whitemarsh High School Images Literary Magazine's second Best Rhyming Poem Award. And what's your name again? John Throat. Huh. Here is my next aphorism. Being excessively clever is foolish when teaching the ignorant. Wait a minute, that's a Publilius Cyrus, you plagiarist. To forget the wrongs you receive is to remedy them. Besides, Publilius Cyrus is deep in the public domain by now, so I would be careful throwing the P-word around. The judge is condemned when the guilty is absolved. Sounds like your mic is broken. Thank you so much. My next guest isn't an aphorist, but she was in line. Thank you so... Oh, you have to go? My guest has chosen to have me conduct this interview in the dark, and I'm not going to question my guest. I know that sounds funny, but it's his... He's my guest. He gets what he wants. I can't say his name on the air. His name is F. Starts with an F. And he's a necromancer who would like to explain a few things. F, what do we need to know? Thank you for having me on the program. I don't often get a chance to go out at night. I'm usually in my laboratory at night, where I do 10 experiments. The first experiment I do, and this, by the way, every night, is on bacteria on the floor. My laboratory is not sterile, and so there's a great deal of little pill-shaped green packets squirming around my feet. Second experiment I do is on protists. The third experiment, I try to miniaturize a cloud in a little vacuum that is shaped like a glass balloon, inside of which is a single cloud no bigger than a mouse. Following this experiment, I perform an experiment on a throat, and we begin by carving. Now, let me butt in here for a second, but these experiments don't seem very necromantical in nature. I was just hoping to hear a little more about your business in the churchyard, as many of our listeners have an interest in churchyard visitors, and I'm trying to pander to them. So off you go about that. I detest your sorry attempts at tying in your little episodes, and that is why I shall not use your name. P takes one to know one. Very well, I will say a few things on the subject, but I would just like, before your slavering fans get the wrong idea, I would just like to say that I have never raised the dead, and nor has any member of my cabal, no matter their ranks. There are several ranks in my cabal. I am a neonate. No, 2 antediluvians. They have not even raised the dead, even though they are older than many people who have died. My cabal has 13 members, and the other night we were forced into a forgotten tavern where a 14th member of a different cabal breathlessly described to us an experiment gone wrong under the wharf, in which over 90 3D parasites were loosed by one of this necromancer's foolish elders, and we spent the night slaying parasite after 3D parasite, and we closed in upon the final beast. I was not actually there for any of the slayings, but I was told about it the night afterwards. I was too busy doing my homework, for you see, I was a student at the local university, whose name I shall not reveal, because I need to keep my cabal a secret, which is also the reason why I made you turn the lights off, because I don't want you to see what I look like, because you may be able to identify me later on, which I wouldn't like. Unfortunately, I couldn't do anything about my voice, which you will now know. Well, that's totally okay, because I'm not here to hurt you. I'm just here to interview you. Yes, I know this already. I'm not a fool. As I was saying, these 3D parasites, only one was left, and my elder, a Methuselah by the name of... You'll have to bleep that. I command that you bleep it. That elder, who I shall not name, told me later on that she found this parasite, and in her grappling with it, it bit her and sent her into the 3rd dimension, where it was spawned. And in the 3rd dimension, she fell upon a forest of teeth, of fangs, and she spent over 1,000 years pushing through the rushes of the fangs, for they were of all different kinds of heights. Tall white redwoods that ended in a little glimmering point, down to toadstool molars upon which she sat for hundreds of years, trying to find her way out of the hungry forest. Now I cannot stress enough that this I did not see, but my elder was of great spiritual potence, and her protean vicissitudes were matched only by her celerity. Deep within her mind I sought honesty, and I found it, a yellow pea-sized jewel within her mind. I sought it, and I found it, and it was positively concomitant with the story of the white forest of 3D teeth, and that parasite was never seen again, for she trapped it in the third dimension, as she related to me the next morning. So where are you based? This, of course, I cannot say. I can say only that my cabal and I dwell within the confines of the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, we dwell around it within 100 miles, but we will not say what city or what country that we live in. But I think I've whittled it down quite a bit, as the Atlantic Ocean is only the second largest ocean on the planet Earth. So how did you get to be a necromancer? How does one begin to be a necromancer? That seems like something in your story that didn't really, I don't think it really got developed all that well, which is probably why it was rejected. Yes, let me explain now to clear that up. For you see, I was just a village boy, and I lived in the village of the Hanging Tree. We, of course, did not call it the Hanging Tree when I was a boy, because that was the word the necromancers used for it. For one, if you hang 13 men from one tree, the tree becomes ensorcelled and will give a necromancer free wood with no complaint, whereas it will give a complaint to a common lumberjack who is not a necromancer because it hurts the tree when it gets cut. And I was a boy from that village before I was whisked away by the necromancers, for they saw within my mind, as all beings of their spiritual potence could see, that I had that yellow jewel of truth within the center of that mind which was mine. And that jewel, they craved the jewel, as the King Tut man craved the jewels of King Tut, and those golden dogs he found in the tomb of the Pharaoh. But the jewel of truth within the mind is a far more glimmering jewel, as I was taught by the 13 necromancers. Now, what about those? I'm back with my good friend F. You're still listening to The Flight of the 50 Fancies. The next show on the radio station you're listening to hasn't come on yet, so you're stuck with me, and you're stuck in the dark because my rather kooky guest would prefer that we conduct his interview in total darkness. Is that not correct, F? Oh, by the way, I can't even say his name on the air, even though I totally know what it is. Your jape is most unbecoming of a broadcaster, and I would just like to say before I storm off that my cabal has over 1,000 potions, and we love each potion, and inside of most of the potions there's a dead bug. This is primarily for its mystical effects upon the drinker of the potion, but also because many potions cannot be corked, or their own vapors will spoil their liquids, and so we must let the potions be open so their vapors can leave in the morning and return and sleep at night. Unfortunately, many of our potions are built with sugars and sweet milks, which naturally attract insects of all shapes and of all souls, which is good in the case of the insects that are required for the potion, and is neutral in the case of the insects that manage to end up in there because of their curious and lethal nature, and is never bad because a potion cannot be ruined by an insect. This is spelled out for us in the first chapter of The Black Pullet, my very favorite grimoire. I'm just surprised after all these years that suddenly a young gentleman has become so interested in the necromancers around him, and the cultists, and the ghouls, and the game show hosts. I thought you were against the tie-in aspect. Well, you see, I am an enigma. My mind has the jewel of truth, and yet it also has the pine cone of falsehood. And this you must understand about the necromancers. We do not and do surprise those whom we speak with our flitting between truth and falsehood. You didn't expect a necromancer to be so predictable, did you, my naive young radio fool? Well, I guess that's on me, actually, 'cause I thought you were gonna tell me the truth. Now I don't know what to do with your interview. So I finally started getting some fan mail, for crying out loud, which is basically just, I got a letter today, just one letter, which is fine, although I do encourage anyone who's tempted to write me to do so. I guess I'll read this letter out loud. Let's see. Let me just make sure you get the right. Hold on. Okay. So it says, "Dear Peter, love the show. I am the Sanskrit translator at the Delhi headquarters of the publisher Motilal Banarsidass, and I have just translated this work. It's called the Tattva Sangraha from the Sanskrit, and I was hoping you would read the following texts that I translated on your show, as I believe if you're really so into ideas, then you'll probably find these pertinent to your project. Love, Ganganatha Jha." So thank you, Mr. Jha. Let's see, Tattva Sangraha. My Sanskrit isn't what it used to be, but I'm guessing, I think Tattva, well, the particle Tva means ness or hood, I think, if I remember, and Tat is like truth, so true hood, or real hood, reality, and a Sangraha is like an encyclopedia or something, so it's like the encyclopedia, the truth, the true reality encyclopedia or something. So that's pretty wild. I think I like it so far. Let me just see if I can read these texts. Looks like these texts are, this is texts 24:15 to 24:17, and it begins like this. "As regards his being not cognized by all beings, that is always doubtful, as it is possible that at some time by some means of cognition he might become cognized by some one. Because that he is so uncognizable cannot be clearly ascertained by all living beings of all the three worlds coming together without exception. As regards his being not cognized by the Mimamsaka himself, it is clearly inconclusive, because that does not prove with certainty that there is no cognition by other persons." So thank you, Ganganatha Jha. I'm not quite sure. I feel like I may have needed to read some texts before the one, like maybe texts 1 to 24:14, maybe to totally understand what this is all about. But thank you all the same. I appreciate the letter. You're the first letter I got. I haven't gotten any previous letters by anybody, so you made history.